Well, it's that time, guys. It's interview time for you. A few nights ago, I interviewed the loveliness that is Nick and Matt and Alex from Prolapse A.D. They are thrash. They are quite funny thrash, to be honest with you. If you guys know me already, you'll know that I work very closely with the guys from Lawnmower Death, and they're on a very similar plane, to be honest with you. Love these guys to pieces. I haven't actually seen them live, but know the bassist especially. He works at Bloodstock, but again, he will tell you all about that during the interview. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Listen to a past me talking to the band and all about their new single called Dump Trump, which was out last week, in regards to the US elections, which happened to be today. Enjoy this. I'll be back with their new track very shortly. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. You are listening to Ebony B. This is Turning Up Till 11 here on ARFM, and I am graced with the presence of the awesomeness that is Matt, Nick, and Alex from Prolapse A.D. Good evening, fellas. How are you?
Hello, how are you doing?
Good evening.
We're great. We're really good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you so much for joining me on this absolutely dismal pre-Halloween evening in October. How is the weather where you guys are this evening?
Ghoulish.
Ghoulish. That's a good answer. Good answer. I like it. Let's make this evening a darn sight better, shall we? Let's talk about you guys. Now, a little bit of an introduction. You were conceived in 2011. At this moment in time, you have one album and 2 singles under your belt. You guys are a power thrash band from the Kentishy, Londony sort of area, and you're spreading a bit of light-hearted and sometimes political tunes to the masses. You're in good company with bands like Evil Scarecrow, Lawnmower Death, Raised by Owls, Footprints in the Custard, and Gua. It's really, really great to have you guys on this evening, and I cannot wait to talk about all this newness that you guys have in the camp so far. First thing I'd like to talk about, you guys have just released a brand new video for your track Dump Trump. First of all, can you talk me through the writing and the recording process of this one, and also the hilarious video that you guys have done?
I'll talk you through the writing. So essentially, we've been living in COVID land, and we've obviously had a second album, which is all written and pretty much ready to go, but we've put that off until next year. But whilst that was all happening, the presidential election was coming up, and we can't resist poking fun at people. And it's just so easy to do that with Donald Trump. It's, he's the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to comedy. Pretty much musically, I wrote most of that in a day with and all the lyrics, and then I hand it over to the band, and we put our Prolapse AD spin on that. So Nick, then lays down some absolute killer shred on it, hand it over to Gumby to add his own bass lines, and our newest member, Andy Felton, who sadly couldn't be with us this evening. He then lays down the groove, and we was like, we must get this out before the election happens. And so then Nick took the reins when it came to organising the video.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Why are the American elections so important to you guys?
I think it was just with the theme of the song. It was like I'd written this song and I was like, look, we've got to get Dump Trump out before the election actually happens, right? Which is Monday or Tuesday next week?
Tuesday. Yeah, we only realised this about 3 weeks ago. We were like, we have a song about Trump. He might not be president in about a month, so this song might go quickly out of date. So we're like, put it out now. Okay,
let's do that. Yeah, and that was challenging because of obviously all the restrictions, trying to keep it to the minimum number of people in a room, and to kind of get all of that done. And so we got a good friend of ours who Nick knows really well, Jake 10, to come down to our regular rehearsal room because there was nowhere else open that we could potentially film it. And I think it's turned out really, really well, just with a bit of us being inventive with the limited time and kind of availability of space that we had.
I'm just thinking back now. I've watched the video a couple of times now, and it's yourself with the wig on, Alex. That's just hilarious. How on earth did you come up with those outtakes?
We literally we were doing that for probably about 10-15 minutes. We were going to have like a whole introduction for everybody that was in the band and all of this kind of stuff. And obviously, just because we was just having so much fun with it, and just people were just throwing stuff at me from behind the camera, like, why don't you talk about this? And then we was kind of like, look, we've got all of this stuff. There's no way we can keep it all in there. Let's just keep the outtakes and put all of that at the end of the video. And, as much as I love the song, actually, I've watched the outtakes probably more times than I have the video. But yeah, it was great fun to shoot it, and it was really kind of loads of spur of the moment stuff. That's kind of what we like to do live as well, is kind of just riff on a subject and go off on a tangent, and most of the time with hilarious results.
I just happened to have a Trump bog roll in my house, so it just kind of worked for the video as well.
I saw it at the end when you were flushing it down the low. That was just genius.
Yeah, just tied the whole thing together. It was like the rug in The Big Lebowski. It's the glue that holds the whole video together. No, it was just such a really good fun. Like, with all of the doom and gloom that we've had, and the weather turning for the worse, and we've got the B word coming up on the horizon, and COVID is all that people talk about. It was just really good fun to get in a room with the band for the first time in a long while, and do something that was just what it is. It's silly, kind of satirical, but I think also the thing is there's also like a really good musical backbone there. So like Nick is a phenomenal guitar player, and he's recognised a lot locally, and he's been asked to join about 1,000 bands, and luckily he's still with us, so that's great. And obviously Andy, who we've just added, came from Stormborn, and they were a fantastic band. We played with them in previous lineups and things like that before, and so he's been a great addition as well. And the man himself, Gumby, rocking the skullet in the 2020s, just the value-based player that he is, just dependable, solid, always there for you.
I was going to ask, Matt, where did you actually get that T-shirt from? That is superb.
That's eBay. That's about £9. All I'm going to say is mullets and spandex need to come back.
Bring it on. Bring it on. Start a trend. Get it done.
Why not?
On the video though, because you go a million miles an hour when you're playing songs, you're playing live, you're trying to be entertaining, all that sort of stuff. You're not really paying attention to what everybody else is doing. You're just playing along, sort of thing. Yeah. On the video, you actually see some of the subtle stuff that Andy does on the drums, and he is really phenomenal. Like, the props to the guy. Like, you don't realise until you get the chances back, and then you go, "Wow, he actually does that? Oh, that's cool."
Rather than just taking it for granted. I was going to say, I think the only thing we came up with in the video in terms of the edit was there was so many really cool fills that Andy does in that are not actually appearing on film because there's so much other stuff going on.
Well, it's just it. You can't have a drum cam on constantly, otherwise it would just be drum cam, surely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's worth it, though. He is very much worth it. Subtle touches here and there, great.
Well, I tell you what, we'll talk more about your drummer issues or not, as the case may be, a little bit later on. The recording that you've done then, is this going to be part of an upcoming album, or is this just a standalone release track?
So I think the plan is just a standalone for this one. We just wanted to get it out by itself, just keep people thinking about us, knowing that we've got more things coming up. And obviously, we wanted to put the album off until we can get a full tour and, full support for that next year. So this probably won't be on that unless people really want it to be. So, you heard it here first. If you keep on petition us to have it on the album, then maybe it will get on there.
Well, there we go. Let's see if we can get some sort of signatory campaign going with that one then. So how can people actually get hold of this release then if they really, really want it?
LimeWire.
I missed that. Sorry, say that one again, Nick.
I said LimeWire.
We're not supposed to be encouraging that, you know?
Yeah, we put it on just to annoy Lars Ulrich.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing a piracy only release, so we're only going to release it on platforms where you don't have to pay for the song. No, no, it's going to it'll appear on our Bandcamp at some point. So that's where we've got the first release out. So the album is on Bandcamp, and we're going to put all the singles, and we'll probably have the second album on Bandcamp as well when that comes to be released.
Brilliant. Good. Glad to hear it. You guys have just done the whole, new album this, new album that. Come on then. What's this new album?
So, I mean, I think we haven't got a title for it yet because we try to remain topical wherever we possibly can do. But, you know, there's lots of themes going on. You know, as you say, I think Trump is the last political one that we've got planned. We're, you know, poking fun at lots of stuff in the local scene. So there's a song about the fact that people from Kent aren't Vikings.
What?
So they'll know who they are. We love the band. We love the people in the band called Call of Fenrir. But, you know, they're a Viking metal band, and there's been a few of them come out in the Kent scene in the last, you know, couple of years. And so, you know, as we do, we take any subject and kind of riff on it and make it, say, you know, poke fun at that situation. There's some more serious stuff on there, you know, about fake news and what's happening, you know, generally with that kind of weird social media. Can you believe anything that you read and see anymore? That kind of stuff, and loads of other themes.
There's a really serious song about a chip shop.
Yeah,
okay.
Really serious.
It's a nod to Creator, and it's called Enemy of COD.
Absolutely.
Nothing to do with the video game by any chance?
No. No, we're not Call of Duty fans. It's Apex Legends all the way. So, isn't that right, Nick? You're not wearing your Mirage.
Listen to Ebony B, turning up to 11 on.
Hi, I'm Alex.
Hey, I'm Nick.
Hi, I'm Matt.
We're Prolapse A.D, and our new song, Dump Trump, is out now. It's going to be huge.
millions of dollars in debt. And when the market crashed, having debt is not the greatest thing in the world. I was in deep trouble because I had massive amounts of debt, and the real estate markets crashed and various other markets crashed. It's a terrible thing in bad times.
Just when I thought, oh, it's more like Donald Duck. He's playing you for a fool. Here comes Donald.
Prolapse A.D. there for you, and Dump Trump. I'll get it right in a minute. That was the first quarter of the interview that I did with the guys a couple of days ago. I will be playing you the second quarter of that interview in a bit, probably about half an hour or so's time, if that's all right with you guys. I'll give you enough time to be able to get a cup of tea and you can sit and chill out for a bit, or a beer, or a glass of wine, or glass of pop, you know, whatever takes you fancy. It's all good. Thank you very much to the fellas for actually agreeing to talk to me. We had a really great in-depth interview. Don't usually do them over an hour, but yeah, that we just kind of got into a thing, you know. It was good. Really liking that track. And for all those of you that are listening out in America, if you haven't been out to vote yet, for goodness sake, go and do it. It's the future of your country in your hands. Go out and vote. Exercise your right to be able to do that, because if you don't, you're going to be stuck with it for the next 4 years and you're not going to be able to whinge about it. Okay, you're listening to Ebony B. This is Turn It Up Till 11 here on ARFM. Well, coming up now is the second part of a 4-parter of the interview that I did with the awesome blokes at Prolapse A.D. a couple of days ago. We sat there and had a natter about everything, including their new single that is out now that is called Dump Trump, which is very apt for today since it is the US elections. So sit back, relax and enjoy this second part of the interview, and I will be back with an exclusive play of their new single, so their new track off their album that they haven't even named or released yet, straight after the track. When was your last release, and why have you guys waited so long to do another album?
We released another single in 2018. We've had all sorts of lineup changes, which is now stable for the last 12 months. So, you know, it's good to finally have a solid drummer in place, and that really allows you to kick on with loads of stuff. We've had lots of things that have been done for a long while, but we haven't had the lineup in place, and we really want to do it kind of with that person actually playing on the... There's stuff that we recorded with our previous drummer that we're going to get Andy to put his spin on, because it just is a better representation of the band and what he would do with the songs and how we play it live now. There's been a bit of that. There's been a bit of COVID, and in the interim we've had a couple of... Since 2011 we've had 2 years where we didn't do anything at all, because Gumby was away working for a living on cruise ships doing sound engineering.
Oh, good. Yes, that sounds quite entertaining, actually.
So, you know, I spent a year in Australia living in Sydney and loving life. It's all of that combined means there is going to be a second album for you guys. Everyone's been screaming for it. The number of people daily, I'm getting letters through my door saying, when's the second Prolapse album coming out? Just people outside my front door, just at all hours of the night. It's been horrendous. I can't wait for it to finally be released so we can just do away with all of this harassment.
So in 2014, you guys recorded your debut album, Blow It Out Your Arse, which you're actually giving away free on your website. So what made you guys decide to give it away? And any idea how many times people have actually downloaded it?
Well, I think the thing with this one was it was shortly before Alex went to Australia that year, I think it was, wasn't it, Alex? And we kind of hadn't really done anything with the recordings. So we were like, well, it's kind of our interim, you know, sort of temporary farewell thing. So let's just put the album online. I think we recorded everything at one of our houses, my house, my parents' house maybe. And we just kind of threw it out there. And I don't think the intention was to just make any money. It was just for people to enjoy what we've done. To be fair, I think even though it's free, some people have paid like 5-10 quid for it every now and then.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, about 4 people have enjoyed it. Someone asked for their money back. They paid nothing in the first instance. So
Brilliant. So how different is this new album going to be then from Blow It Out Your Arse?
It's going to be quite different. A lot of the original stuff from Blow It was kind of me and Alex just throwing ideas at each other and going, that's funny, let's keep that. Or, that sounds like Slayer, let's keep that. So Nick comes in on the sort of back end of the writing of that. So his ideas come in on a couple of songs, and then the new stuff is more collaborative. And Nick's a bit of a wizard, so context of stuff goes way up through the roof. And like me and Alex are sitting there going, how the hell did you come up with that?
Yeah, it's just he adds that cherry on the top to everything. So just adding that kind of technicality in terms of like the guitar playing. So it's not just something that you can like listen to and just have a laugh at once. Yeah, hopefully like people are listening back to it again and again, because they're actually like, apart from just like the amusement of the lyrics and the subject matter, actually the music behind that is actually really good. I think when bands get that right, you get stuff like Municipal Waste, like Art of Partying, I'd say is like a real inspiration.
Yeah.
And things like like the first Steel Panther album. Now that is a comedy kind of album, but actually musically it's fantastic. It's really good, and it's the best thing that they've done. One of those things where you need to have a little bit of substance behind kind of hilarity that comes with being in a band called Prolapse A.D.
Very interesting. When you guys were actually talking about creating this band and you were actually getting the name together back in 2010, 2011, what on earth made you choose that?
It's one of those things, if you try and name a metal band, any name that you come up with, you put in a Google search and there's already a band called that.
Agreed. Yes, you're right, there is.
So we thought, what aren't people going to call their band? And I think the literal conversation was, we've just really got to pull a name out of our arse here. And then with that, I think that was when the Google search came in. It was like, and then it's like, yes. That's what happens. And so we went with it. And then even funnier, 6 years down the line, we kept on being mistaken for an indie band who were also called Prolapse.
Who have now split, which is really frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. Really frustrating. So we added the AD moniker after a certain track of ours that seems to be a fan favourite.
Yeah, is that Black and Decker by any chance?
That would be Black and Decker, yes.
Listeners, if you would like to go and catch all of these, please do go on YouTube. There's plenty on YouTube, or there's a few bits and pieces on their Bandcamp page as well. But if you want to know what we're talking about, I don't think these are going to be particularly airable on ARFM, but we'll see what we can do.
I just want to say the thing with the name is we actually rebranded the band or renamed it when Alex got back from Oz in 2015. Because obviously we were called Prolapse, then we kind of disbanded temporarily. When we came back, we wanted to change the name, and we kind of looked at the name's funny, it kind of represents what we're all about. We were like, let's just keep it, but add AD, like Entombed AD, Sepultura AD, so it's kind of got that kind of vibe. And these guys wouldn't let me call it Rumpelstiltskin Chocolate Hammock, so we had to stick with Prolapse AD.
Rumpelstiltskin Chocolate Hammer, yeah, okay, that would have worked.
I mean, you wouldn't have forgotten it. So there you go. That's a good reason why we voted that one down, Nick. See, nobody would have been able to find us, because how the hell do you spell Rumpelstiltskin?
No, you're supposed to spell it in year 3 at school when you read the book. No.
I don't recall reading that one whilst I was at school, actually, but that's beside the point completely. Okay, I'm going to forward you guys in time a little bit to 2018. You guys played a UK tour as guests to Act of Defiance, and you actually had Chris Broderick play on one of your tracks during the tour. What was it like to work with those guys? How was that tour?
Horrendous.
Oh, gosh, really?
No. It was good. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
Chris and Sean from Act of Defiance were in Megadeth. The bass player Matt Bashond is in Shadows Fall. The singer Henry was in Scar the Martyr and another band, which escapes me. I can't remember the name of the band. But they were all really cool guys. You'd think two guys that have been in Megadeth would have like the whole Rockstar Bull going on. Mm-hmm. But they're just so down to earth, really chilled, like just so easy to get on with. Just offered us bits and pieces, the shared backline, all the amenities, that sort of thing. Oh. So easy to work with. Really cool guys.
The fact that they looked after you so well. I mean, some of those bands do have, as you say, a little bit of an ego issue, and they don't like to go back down to the roots, and they really don't like looking after the grassroots bands and the bands that are just starting up. But the fact that they looked after you guys was really, really cool.
I mean, I think we've reciprocated. We looked after them pretty well as well, to be fair. But to echo what Matt said, I think such lovely, lovely people to be on tour with. We had just an absolute blast. It's probably, I would say, up there with like the best, couple of weeks of my life. Just because we just had such fun. We ended up, hanging out with the guys from Killswitch Engaged and drinking with them for a couple of evenings. We got tickets to see Iron Maiden, who were playing the day after we were. Yeah, so we ended up, and Killswitch were supporting Maiden, so we hung out with those guys, and they were amazing as well. It was just a great tour. Like, we had so much fun. The crowds in Glasgow were really entertaining, us being from the south. Pretty much like the home show at the Underworld in London, the first night of the tour was probably I think it's probably the best show we've ever played. I'm just throwing it out there. I think we had such really good support from the fans. The atmosphere was amazing. The place was packed out. Yeah, we just had an absolute blinder. And Chris was such a magnanimous kind of like person, and just really, really nice of him to come and play with us. And he played one song with us every night of the tour.
Oh, that's just wow. That really is amazing. So are you guys still in touch with them? Do you guys intend on doing anything further with them, or is that a need-to-know basis at the moment?
Well, I think after the tour, Chris said he'd have us back, despite, getting bored of our songs and our music.
I'm sure that's a lie.
There's also the spanner in the works that Chris is now on tour with In Flames and doing a lot of stuff with them. So Act of Defiance has kind of got to work around that as well.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, because In Flames is an amazing band, and it's with Chris in it, hopefully some more pyrotechnics on the guitar would be well welcomed. I know there's going to be people that really like the new In Flames, but old In Flames is where it's at for me. So yeah, if there's a bit of sprinkling of more Broderick onto the In Flames kind of sound, that would be fantastic for me personally. And a big shout out to Matt, the bass player, because I think I'm hearing rumours that maybe Shadows Fall are doing something again. They've had a couple of live streams recently, and for me, that was one of those bands that, when I was growing up, The Art of Balance came out, and it was just everything that I was looking for at the right tone. And it was, still one of those albums that I go back to and listen to, and I was like, that was amazing. So hopefully, fingers crossed, Matt does that. And then maybe if they get bored of doing Shadows Fall, we can support Act of Defiance.
Prolapse A.D. there, and an unheard song. That is Enemy of COD. That was what we were talking about in the interview a little bit earlier on. That will appear on their new album that will be released, hopefully, next year, fingers crossed, and announcing with a tour and one thing and another, and a great album release gig and one thing and another. Yeah, we can hope, can't we? Fingers crossed. Well, that was the interview that I did with the Prolapse AD guys. I have the second half of that coming up this time next week. You're listening to Ebony B. This is Turn It Up Till 11 here on ARFM, and I'm here every Tuesday evening in between 9 and 11 p.m. GMT, and I think that's about 4 p.m. EST over in the States. Hope you're all having an okay evening. Mine's not been too bad at all, actually. It's gone really, really quickly. I suppose because I'm not playing so much music and I'm playing an interview. I'll not do this to you every week. Don't panic. I know these interviews do get quite intrusive, but believe me, when you're sat there and you're having the best conversation with a band and it's flowing so well, you don't want to turn around and say, oh, well, I only want to put an interview on for 20 minutes. We're going to have to cut it there. It's like, no, if you're talking and they're talking, carry on and just cut it. You know, that actually, when I finished the Zoom call, I think that was about an hour and 20 minutes worth. So the fact that you guys are getting about 51 minutes worth of that means you're very, very lucky. Oh, well, I've got just under 20 minutes left to be able to show you guys as much awesome music as possible. So I'm going to carry on in the same vein, but a little bit heavier. The next track I want to play for you is a request. This is actually from Matt, who is referred to as Gumby in the interview, from Prolapse AD. He's the bassist. He's asked for a Communic track. The one that we've chosen is My Temple of Pride, taken from the band's 6th album called Hiding from the World. It's set to be released on the 20th of November via AFM Records, and I would have played the new single and video for Hiding from the World, but it was about a 10-minute epic, and with the interview I'm running out of time this week. Sorry, Matt, I might play you in at a later date. Well, I promised you interviews, and interviews you shall have. This is a past me talking to the awesome boys from Prolapse AD. Am I allowed to call them boys? Are they all younger than me? Possibly. Only a little bit, though. We were chatting about their new single, which is called Dump Trump. They were releasing that as part of the election campaign that was happening over in America. That was, 2 weeks ago now. Oh gosh, hasn't time flown? And of course, we now don't have Trump in the office anymore, which to some people is actually quite a relief. I don't know the bloke personally, you know, all I know is what the media bring to us, and I know that an awful lot of it was quite negative. So fingers crossed, hopefully American can get back on to an... But anyway, interview time. Have a listen to this interview, and then I will play you Dump Trump after this. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. A little birdie has told me about an unreleased track that you guys are working on at the moment. It's got a lovely big F swear word at the beginning of it, which I won't be saying, but the second word is cancer.
Yeah.
Any chance you guys could tell me a little bit more about that?
The song we wrote it a couple of years ago. Kind of is dedicated to a few people, but both my grandparents on my dad's side died of cancer, unfortunately. And also we've friend of the family, Dave Latcham, who's been fighting it for 10 years now. He's been battling prostate cancer. So that's been a long one, and really good friends of the band and good friend of Nick's, James, who has played drums for Splintered Soul. I don't know if you have. And finally, Colin Tyler, who's been a big supporter of our band and like the London and Kent scene for many, many years. And he runs a festival called Sarcoma Fest every year to raise money, kind of help people battle that. So big shout out to Colin. And we're actually paying that festival again next year.
Fingers crossed that everything actually
crossed.
Normal next year. Goodness. It's strange, really, because the amount of bands that I've worked with that are doing the whole parody thing or the joke thing, or they're expected to be light and funny and satirical, etc. Every now and again do a track like that, and it sort of makes bands sort of stand back and think a little bit, and it sort of makes people take you a little bit more seriously. Is that the aim for that, or was it literally just no, we have power to be able to bring awareness to stuff like that? You know, we're just going to do it this once and then sort of move on again.
Yeah, it's more just getting fed up of the situation. I mean, statistically, I think it's like 1 in 3 at the moment are going to be affected. So it's just the whole, like, everybody's sick of it. we have the technology? Can we not get past it?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we've got the as you say, the technology and medicine's moved on that much. I mean, come on, we're at the moment fighting our way through getting a COVID vaccine. So if we can build a COVID vaccine that quickly, you know, why can't we do something with cancer?
Yep. I mean, Alex will tell you more, but it's just one of those sort of middle finger up moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that, I think it's appealing to that rebellious part of like why we all love metal, right? Yeah. It's just on the one hand, it's catharsis in terms of getting all of the angst out from the rest of your life and releasing that in a way that now acceptable to do so, because you can't just run through the streets screaming at people because people think you're mental, but you can go to a heavy metal gig and you can do basically that all night, and that's actually encouraged and wanted by the people around you, just to get all of that kind of stuff out. And I think on the one hand, the comedy aspect of us is about saying, taking all of that serious stuff that you're dealing with in your real life, I suppose, and then having an outlet which is just fun. But sometimes, obviously, when it really hits close to home and you've had experiences with people in your family and people that are really close to you and people in the scene that have been battling this kind of thing, it's also one of those moments where you just want to have a middle finger up to screw this, we've got to do something about it, and support something, particularly for the people that have really supported us and come to shows and paid for albums on Bandcamp that they didn't need to, and bought T-shirts and all of that kind of stuff. So a little bit of, pay respects to those people as well.
Agreed. Do you think that it makes us healthier people then, because we have that sort of outlet? We can actually let everything go for a while.
I think so. I think like normal people really miss out on that aspect of having an outlet where it's you can really just express yourself. There's definitely less judgment in the metal scene. When it comes to when you're at shows, people are just really respectful. I think from the outside, people look at a mosh pit and they go, oh, they're just all beating on each other. And it's like, no, like you fall down in a mosh pit, people will be picking you up straight away and they'll be helping you out. And actually, the main thing is that people are having a good time. And yeah, that's what I love about it, to be fair. Just that camaraderie, that feeling that you get and that outlet.
It's safe. It's a wonderful feeling of family and belonging, and allowing you to be that bit different that you've always known. We've always known it. We've had it there in our chests since we were tiny. We've always known that we were different, but it isn't until you meet other people that are in a similar situation and you realise that, yeah, okay, I am different, but I do have people that are different with me, and I can actually now be my brand of normal.
Because what is normal? And I think the more you try and kind of adhere to what people are expecting or want you to do, ultimately I think that's bad for you mentally, because you're just repressing what you actually want to do the whole time, and it finds a way out. I think that's why a lot of people struggle with mental health, and that's a complete tangent. But what I'm saying is I think that like music is a great outlet for those people that are struggling. There's always something out there, particularly now, that's going to speak to you in a way that really resonates. And if that's not Prolapse, then I'm sure there's going to be loads of bands within the alternative scene. You go as far ranging as someone like Ghost, which is kind of like, I suppose it's like a gothic ABBA, if I was going to put it one way, all the way to something that's just completely monstrous, like a Napalm Death, and everything in between. There's something for everyone.
No, I completely agree with you, mate. Completely agree with you. So let's get back onto you guys for a little bit, because we've now had our tangents. That's what I was hoping, and that's what I was expecting. So that's really good. Thanks for that, guys. You guys have been finalists of the Bloodstock Metal to the Masses competition a couple of times now. How hard was it to actually get yourselves on that bill? And what advice would you give to bands wanting to head out on that same road?
So the thing with Bloodstock that people kind of misunderstand, people see it as a chance to play the festival, when what you're actually looking at is a chance to promote yourself. So if you're in a region, say Leicester or Kent or London or Somerset, wherever it is, if you're on a bill with 4 other bands that don't sound anything like you, you're opening yourself up to a bunch of people that would never have heard you otherwise. So it's a massive chance to promote yourself. And with the promoters themselves promoting all their shows, your logo and your name is getting out there as well. So it's a big old chance to get a few numbers through the door. And that's the thing that people mistake that competition for. They don't see that and they just go, oh yeah, I just want to play at Bloodstock. Which, yeah, everybody wants to play at Bloodstock. It's great. It's a tool to further yourself rather than a come play here thing.
Agreed.
The same can be said about the festival as well itself, because when you're there, they give you the opportunity to organise your press stuff, to go and have interviews, to go and mingle in the VIP area. Obviously, there's going to be like tons of other bands that you're going to meet and get to mingle with and network. And obviously, of course, if you kind of play your cards right, whichever stage you play at, you can, if you promote it well, you can get people in the tent as well. So there's a whole heap of stuff that playing a day and then all the around it bits are worth going there for. In addition to what Matt said about the opportunities that are presented to you in the rounds and the finals and everything like that.
I'd say, like, if you approach it, because I don't really like the term Battle of the Bands, because ultimately music's entirely subjective, and you can't take it personally if you don't get picked to be the band, because whomever you like, if you speak to 5 people who were all at the same concert, you'll get 5 different answers as to who was the best band on that day, right? And that's just the nature of like music. It's an entirely subjective thing. Yeah, obviously, like if you've played well or if you've made a mistake, that may like come across, but it's how you deal with that. So that's one part of it. The second part, as you know, Gumby's kind of alluded to, is actually the atmosphere at the shows, particularly for the finals and the semi-finals in Metal to Masses. The ones that I've been to has been incredible. It's been, just such, like a positive crowd supporting every single band throughout the day, regardless of who they're friends with. It's been a really good thing to bring a lot of local scenes together across the entire country. I got to applaud really Simon Hall for driving that for the best part of, 13, 14 years.
Worthy, Simon.
Yeah, and all of that kind of stuff. Because to be fair, without it, it becomes a focal point of something to get yourself on the bill as well. Because with the number of venues that are closing, you can always guarantee that promoters, people that are booking bands in local areas, are going to be, when you start out, that's going to be a great entry point for you, because you're going to be able to get onto there because it's a competition. The venues are going to make money because people show up because they want to support everyone that's on it, because it's aiming towards something, and it really just ties everything together.
Completely agreed with you on that one. Also, one thing that bands do seem to forget is if you do actually get through to the final and you do win and you actually get the opportunity to be able to play, that is just the start of your journey. That is the first rung on the ladder, and that needs to not be your end goal. That needs to be the first goal, and then you need to build up and up and up. You need to be able to play there again, but then move up to the Sophie stage rather than playing on the New Blood stage, and then maybe one day reaching the main stage. But then, of course, there's so many other festivals that can come from Bloodstock. When you've got Amplified Festival, you've got Uprising. For the more harsher ones, you've got Mammoth Fest, you've got Ghost Fest in Leeds. There's so many other harsher festivals that bands like that can play with. And of course, then you've got festivals like Download Festival. You've got Leeds and Reading if you're really that way inclined. And there are so many other festivals that can be a springboard from Bloodstock onwards. But the amount of bands that I've met at these festivals, being in radio for quite a few years, I've interviewed an awful lot of bands that have played us, and a lot of them have basically rolled over and just gone, yeah, we've played Bloodstock now, that's it, we don't need to do anything else now, we're amazing. And I completely disagree with that, and I would encourage bands to just look at it as as I say, the first rung on the ladder to be able to move up to the next thing. And you guys have done the Metal to the Masses twice now, but you have actually played Bloodstock, haven't you?
Yeah, Nick's played every single stage.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Nick,
don't know how many other people.
Every single stage with a whole different host of bands. Nick and Alex played with their previous band In a Fire. But I've been to many a Bloodstock.
Yeah, 'cause you
my skullet can be seen far and wide.
So like bouncing off your head, Gumby, that's why.
Oh, that's cute, even though he does sound.
It's all right. I mean, like you say, it is the first rung, and a lot of people don't see it that way. And like, take Evil, for instance. Way back, Evil did the New Blood stage, and then came back and played the main stage years and years later. And like, people forget that, and it's a tool rather than a prize. It's a tool. Because if you can get your name on a Bloodstock T-shirt, that's great promo.
For years and years to come. I mean, how many people do you see walking around Bloodstock with age-old T-shirts on, with T-shirts from when they started back in 2003, 2004, was it? I'm going to get hit now for not actually knowing the date.
That's the best part of a festival, though, is spotting the oldest T-shirt you can find.
Agreed.
And I'm usually one of the culprits.
I think my first one was 2009, and I was a bit thinner then, so I can't fit into it anymore, which is a shame. But yeah, with you completely on that one. But yeah, Bloodstock is long live Bloodstock. Let it carry on. I'm looking forward to seeing who else they get on the bill.
I'm Alex.
Hey, I'm Nick.
Hi, I'm Matt.
We're Prolapse A.D, and our new song Dump Trump is out now. It's going to be huge.
University was a scam, but you can't believe me, I'm the greatest understand.
and billions of dollars in debt, and when the market crashed, having debt is not the greatest thing in the world. I was in deep trouble because I had massive amounts of debt, and the real estate markets crashed and various other markets crashed. It's a terrible thing in bad times.
Just when I thought I'd seen it all, it's more like Donald Duck. He's playing you for a fall. Here comes Donald. Trump. Just this stuff. Trump.
Dump Trump there from Prolapse A.D, and that is the third quarter of the interview that I did with the guys a couple of weeks ago. The last and final quarter is coming up in the next hour. Hope you're all doing okay this evening. You're listening to ARFM. My name is Ebony B, and the show is Turn It Up Till 11. It's great to have you guys here this evening, or this afternoon if you are outside the UK. Second part of the interview for today, and it's the final quarter of the interview that I did with the lads from Prolapse A.D. Spoke to them a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to play you the last part of this interview and then a track that they've sent me called 1 Minute Wonder. I'll leave it to your imagination as to what that might be about, but I'll play the interview and play the track a little bit later. So sit back, relax, and enjoy listening to a past me, and I will be back after this with some While She Sleeps, some Pyrames and some Silosis if we've got time. Enjoy. I've not actually seen you guys live yet, which is a very, very sad thing, but I've been told that I should ask about inflatable pigs and crowd interaction.
So we encourage crowd interaction. We encourage people to have a good time. I believe one of Alex's opening lines is, "We're 4 Burks from South London," just to set the tone. So, like, me personally, being an engineer, and I've been going to gigs since I was about 14, 15, so I've seen a whole host of bands. I get so bored with bands coming on stage and, like, going, "Yes, we are the seriousest band ever. You must listen to us." Like, that is just an instant switch off. Or you get the even worse thing, the idiot singer comes out and goes, "Hello, you bunch of," and then, like, everybody in the audience just goes, "All right, mate, I'll be at the bar." But yeah, like, so we try and flip that on its head and try and bring the party atmosphere, a la your Stormtroopers' death, a la your sort of municipal waste, that sort of thing. Tongue firmly in cheek, and not quite saying let's have a party, but just kind of adding that atmosphere.
Look, I think it's about playing the best show you possibly can and playing as if you've got a packed house, even if it's not. I remember we played a gig in London, right? And it was the same, I can't remember, it was the same night as, like, Iron Maiden and another metal gig. And so we were playing to literally about 4 or 5 people in the crowd. And so it was like, we're still going to go full out here. And I think we ended up, like, Nick with the wireless system and me and Matt having, like, a 3-man circle pit of our own making on the floor of the venue. And like, the bar staff afterwards really appreciated it. It was like, that was the most fun I've had. I thought it was going to be a really lame night because we knew obviously this was happening elsewhere, and, you know, we didn't know everyone was going to turn up. But I think it's about, you know, when, as Gumby says, you've got really super serious bands all of the time, you need to be able to, you know, have bands that are completely opposite. It's a different way of doing things. It's kind of like, you know, Rammstein are all about the show, in terms of, you know, being able to put on a production. Now, you know, if we had that kind of money, I'd do that for Prolapse, right? Yeah, I'd do that. In a heartbeat. I'd be like, I'd have different backdrops for every single song that we're doing, depending on the theme. I'd have all of this stuff going on. I'd have, like, T-shirt guns and that kind of stuff. But as it is, you know, like where we are now, it's kind of as we can with what we know. We had a song which we dedicated to David Cameron, hence the inflatable pigs.
Right, got you.
So we had that going on for that. The infamous Black & Decker makes an appearance with its attachment, and the ode to our second guitar player, Matt, and his member. And I'm sure, like, if we play Dump Trump live, I'm going to get fully costumed up. I'm going to do the whole thing, you know, as Trump. Exactly. All of that kind of stuff. And it's like little things but people remember that the day after, even if they were like, "Oh, what was the name of that band? You know, the guys that did this. And it sparks a bit more interest. It gets people involved a bit more. And it's just a great fun thing to see when you go out to a show, to be actually entertained and not just bludgeoned with, "You must listen to us, we are the greatest thing since sliced bread." When you're playing, you know, Mellow Death from the mid-90s.
2 quick stories. One of the Metal to the Masses finals, we had 6 inflatable pigs. we got one back by the end of the show.
You were lucky.
And that was punctured.
Yeah.
One of
that's what they did with it.
Not asking.
One of the missing 5 ended up on a tent in Bloodstock that was behind the new blood stage, let's just say that. So you can tell who had that away. And
that much.
yeah. And the Black & Decker itself, our little prop, we pull out at the end of shows, but there was one show where we pulled it out and we got the great reaction. We were playing a youth centre for 14 and 16-year-olds. All the guys on one side of the room were like, oh my God, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. All the girls on the other side of the room were like, what is that? Get away from me.
At that same gig, they like the crowd literally took it upon themselves to crowd surf me around the room. They were like, we want to crowd surf you. And I'm like, okay, if you want. Wasn't going to be part of the act, but literally just doing laps of this of the youth centre. So that was.
So you lost your trainers, your wallet, your filling.
Yeah, totally. My virginity.
Yeah, that was your line. That was your line, wasn't it? This is a great song to lose your virginity to.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, you've got to have one, and I'd love it if somebody out there could reply to the radio show saying, yes, I lost my virginity to a Prolapse AD song.
I think we got a message on our Facebook page from somebody. It might have been one of those recommendation things where you rate like a page or whatever. And somebody had actually commented on our Facebook page saying, this band's great live, like the best thing you can ever do on your first date with someone you're seeing. So somebody apparently saw us on our first date.
Oh, wow.
Would recommend.
Yeah.
Going back to the drummer thing, you guys appear to have struggled with drummers over the years. How are you feeling now Andy's joined your ranks?
It's a little green globule on the drum stool.
Oh,
It was just gone in a puff of smoke. You can't dust for vomit.
No. It has literally been Spinal Tap with drummers for us. Like we've had so many drummers over the years, it's ridiculous. But actually, I think in terms of, and this is no disrespect because we love all the people that we've had in the band previously. We've had Steve Leonard from Faith and Fury. We've had Russ, who was in Unforeseen Prophecy. We've had Ben, who's doing really, really well with Collateral now. And you may have heard of them. Who am I forgetting?
We've had Dan from Eye of Solitude.
Yep, Dan from Eye of Solitude.
And Doug, who hasn't been in any other bands, but is just a super nice bloke. Doug is awesome. Yep.
So all of these guys, that's like 7 in 10 years. So with Andy now, obviously, I was just going to say, like, no disrespect to all of those guys, but Andy is so on our wavelength. He's the guy that's come in, and on the first rehearsal, he was like, oh yeah, I understand you people. You're idiots, but you want to make good music.
well,
and it just gelled. It's just gelled, and we've been able to like kick on and get like more stuff recorded in the last 12 months, and I said like get this album pretty much finished in a short period of time, even with like COVID going on and all that, which is a testament to how well he's doing, and he's picked up all of the back catalogue really, really well, and he's just a stellar drummer. If you listen to Stormborn stuff, they were like I suppose if Dragon Force and Iron Maiden had a baby. They were like that, right? So it's like really high tempo, really complicated footwork, just stamina for days, and that's what we needed in our lives. And so yeah, thanks Andy for joining the band, for being an absolute legend, and for his wife for allowing him to continue after she'd met us.
Right, one of those was it.
Also, his attire was on point as well, because he's got a vest that he drums in. His vest reads quite good at PE.
Okay.
We knew it was a match made in heaven. I'm quite good at PE. It's like, okay, yeah, good.
Totally on our wavelength.
As a band and also as individuals, How have you guys coped with this whole COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown? How have you actually kept yourselves going as a band and also as individuals?
Yeah, we do the silly thing. We kind of did bring back rehearsals a little while ago, so that kind of kept us occupied for a little bit. We did our video, of course, and a couple of bonus things, actually, which I don't think they'll be on the album because of probably licensing and whatever, but we did a couple of lockdown covers that we all recorded separate parts, and Alex did his magical cauldron of the mixing stuff and made some really killer Revocation song, Nevermore song, and we're going to do a Megadeth song next, probably a Power Trip song as well. So we've got we've done heaps of covers in the past. So we actually we just put these out there, and there's videos on YouTube of us playing all our separate rooms, but the whole audio is us as a band. So we did that in lockdown. It kind of kept us busy, kept us focused on at least the music stuff. And then what do I do else? Nothing really. That's pretty much it.
Aside from climbing the walls of boredom, it's just been sort of musical stuff and throwing ideas at each other and going, hey, I recorded this last night. What did you think of this? And like going, that bit's cool, or that bit's cool, or that's an odd time signature. We like that sort of thing. And just trying to keep ideas bouncing, even though we can't be in the same room.
I just, what Nick said, I think it was like, okay, like we if we can't get together, then what can we do just to keep ourselves entertained, keep people thinking about the band, still having some fun. So like the Revocation cover, the whole band footage is still a pretty fun watch. So check that out on our YouTube channel. And as I said, it'll be good to do a tribute to Riley, who unfortunately passed away from Power Trip. We love that band. They were fantastic at Bloodstock as well. So it's all of that kind of stuff. But I think you got to look at it in a way. It's an opportunity. How much time did I have as like a 13, 14-year-old? Because I play guitar myself and like work on vocals and stuff like that. You got to think, okay, I can't do anything else, so I'm just going to spend all of my time getting better at my instrument, learning to mix better, writing more stuff, and making sure it's productive, so that when we come out at the end of this, and we definitely will, that you've got something to show for it. So you haven't just wasted that time. It's not like everything. Whilst it's negative, you've got to take the positives from it, right? So you wouldn't ever spend this amount of time at home to work on that kind of stuff if you weren't forced to. So why not work on that and make the best of what you have? And it's so easy nowadays with technology to do this kind of stuff. Like if this had happened 10 years ago, there's no way we could have still collaborated as a band and done all of this writing and released videos in the same way. You probably couldn't have done it. Now it's achievable. So use the tools you've got, use what you have around you, and make the best of any experience.
What can we expect from you guys now? I know you're currently working on the album. You don't have a name yet, but a rough date that you guys are working towards in regards to getting something out there?
Totally depends on COVID.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing. We want to be able to tour the album. So we want to be able to release it and then go out and play shows. And whilst we've got stuff booked, fingers crossed it happens. So playing the Tunbridge Wells Forum in January at the moment. And, we've got Sarcoma Fest and Hero Fest booked next year already. We just want to know that we've got a solid, we can actually go tour the UK, put like a really good bill together once we know who's going to be available and up for doing it after this kind of hiatus for the year, and really push it to kind of take it to that next level. So it was really good doing that once with Active Defiance, but I think it would be really good to have our own headline shows, if possible, up and down the country. We might need to tag onto bills with more local bands or known bands in that area for a little bit until we can get to that level. But that's basically the plan. Let's do it when we can tour it.
Is there any other news? Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about? Anything that I've missed?
No, just if anyone's listening in America, go out and vote.
I was going to ask.
This is going out
to be on election day.
I'm going to be drinking and and praying as much as I'm not a fan of Biden, but hoping we don't have 4 more years of Trump. I mean, if we do have 4 more years of Trump, hey, we'll write some more music about it. So again, take the positives. I'm sure there'll be more comedy material that will come out of those next 4 years, but hopefully we see some sense there. And we can't influence it in the UK. So, go out and vote, use your voice. If you don't like something, it's the only way you can actually change anything is to go out and vote for it. So, do that. That's the only thing that's coming up that, I'd be eagerly anticipating. And, fingers crossed, Oxford get their vaccine sorted, COVID disappears, we're all out touring again next year, the second album comes out, and, we'll be headlining Wembley in 5 years.
That would be awesome. And, we will definitely be behind you guys 100%. Well, in that case, then, good luck with everything. Fingers crossed that everything does go the way that we want it. I'm really, really looking forward to this new album. Can't wait to actually see you guys live at last. And just leaves me to say, Alex, Matt, Nick, thanks so much for talking to us tonight. You've been an absolute star and a half. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emma. You rock.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Oh, good luck, and we'll speak to you soon, yeah?
Right.
Yeah.
Take
care. See you soon, guys. Bye for now.
This is Gumby from Prolapse A.D, and you're listening to Turn It Up to 11 with the awesome Ebony B.
And that was it. That is the end of the interview that I did with the guys with Prolapse AD a couple of weeks ago. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to them. They were so lovely, so relaxed, so chilled out, and really quite funny as well. The amount of stuff that I had to cut out of that interview because it ended up getting a little bit crass and not particularly airworthy. But yeah, some of the stories that they came out with were a proper giggle. Love those guys to pieces. Don't worry, I will keep you updated as soon as they have their album gathered together. And believe me, you guys will be the first ones to hear any new tracks.